Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of my podcast, Is Breakfast Included? How you guys doing? Good? Great. On today's show, I sit down with a good friend of mine by the name of Chaz Knight. Now, if you were part of the Dallas local music scene or a fan or just a radio listener, then you've heard that name. Back in the late 90s to the early 2000s, Chaz was a mainstay in the local music scene and was indirectly responsible for the major label signings of a lot of local bands, most notably Drowning Pool and Edgewater. But there were a lot of other bands that got signed. And like I said, indirectly. But anyway, I caught up with Chaz at his home. We talked about the old days of him being on radio, what brought him to Dallas, that infamous local music show that he took over but kind of made his own, and it's never been the same since he left, and what he's up to now. We had a great time talking, and of course, he told me what he likes for breakfast. All right, let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
So I am Chaz Knight, the infamous Chaz Knight. So most people know me from the Eagle. I mean, I say that shit. It's been so long. Can I cuss?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been so long. I mean, I started at the Eagle in the fall of 1996. So that's when I moved to Dallas from Lubbock, because I was doing radio in Lubbock at a station called FMX, which was the rock station there. And the program director said, listen, you're getting pretty good at what you do, which I was terrible. But, West Texas, you're not going to go anywhere here in Lubbock unless somebody dies or somebody gets caught with dope. And everybody was on dope. So even if you got caught, you weren't getting fired. So he said, look, Dallas is looking for some people, and I've already put your name in. One of the Warner Brothers record rep, I told him I got a guy, be perfect in Dallas. He's wacky and crazy.
Yeah.
So he told the Warner Brothers rep told the program director here in Dallas, Dwayne Doherty at the time, said, hey, there's this crazy guy, he's willing to move to Dallas and be on the radio here. So I just packed up everything I had, U-Haul. I drove straight to Dallas. I did the interview, and he liked me, and he said, well, we'll call you and let you know if you got the job. And I'm like,
I said, a U-Haul full of shit.
My Isuzu Trooper and a U-Haul is full of everything I own. Everything I own, fit in one little U-Haul trailer. And I go, dude, I moved here for this gig. I mean, you've got to give me this job, because this is why I moved here. I left Lubbock and my radio gig to come to be. I thought I had the job for sure. Yeah. And he goes, really? He goes, I go, yeah, look at, I pointed up my U-Haul. I go, that's my U-Haul now. Well, can you start this weekend? I said, yeah. So I started in, magical moments, man.
Did they start you overnights or early mornings?
Oh,
or
yeah.
What were you doing?
The first, he goes, come in this weekend, and I had to work the midnight to 6 with Perry. There was a girl named Perry that worked there, and she was actually from Lubbock too, and she came from the same station. But so it was kind of nice to have someone familiar there. And I had to sit in with her. And, I've been doing radio in Lubbock, which, 200,000 people, Lubbock, 250,000.
Yeah. And,
rural, playing classic rock or, some current rock. But man, when you come to the Eagle in Dallas, and you're working in the number 5 market in the United States, and millions of people are listening, I mean, it's a little different. I was scared, and I cracked the mic, and I was like...
And at the time, Stern was in the morning, right?
And you got Howard Stern. So... It went Howard Stern, Russ Martin, Chris Ryan, Cindy Skull, Dangerous Darren, who now does Hair Nation and
on Sirius
XM.
Yeah.
I hear him on Sirius, and I think, dude, I used to hang out with this guy, and yeah, he's still amazing DJ.
Yeah.
But it was such a great lineup. I mean, iconic, legendary DJs who are now Hall of Fame, or most of them are. Chris Ryan does voice work now. He's really big into voice work. So yeah, man, legendary. I got in there. I started doing weekends. Chris Ryan was doing the local show. And he knew that I was a musician. I was really into the scene, and he's like, I went and saw his local show a couple of times, and he just, he was doing it, but he wasn't passionate about it. Like, he was doing it just to do it. Right?
Yeah.
But me, I was like, oh man, I want to do it. I'll do the local show, because I was like, I wanted to be into that music scene. And so I eventually started getting better shifts on the weekends. I took over the local show, did that every Sunday night. And then that thing exploded. It went from, not very high ratings. And really, when they used to have the live events, no one, there would be 15, 20 people at those shows to selling out Curtain Club on Sunday nights. When the local show was really going, it was, Doug at the Curtain Club said Sunday nights were busier than Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah. That's how popular the local show got. So that blew up. And then from there, I started doing afternoons with Cindy. She said, you should just be my partner and do traffic and weather, and then do bits with me and stuff. Then I started doing afternoons with Cindy, love her, and we're still great friends. And then obviously that my brand, my star got that much bigger doing Afternoon Drive. And man, those are just great years.
Yeah, let's talk about that local show for a minute, because I've been in this scene for a long time.
Yeah.
And probably I'm going to say something that if anybody hears, they'll hate it.
I love it. Dude, controversy.
Your version of the local show to me is iconic around here. Like, you brought in new bands, you gave my band a chance. I remember just submitting that CD over and over, never hearing back, and then running into you at the Galaxy Club one night and giving you the CD and say, listen to this tonight. And then you called me the next day. You're like, hey man, can you do this on this date?
Yeah.
But
it must have been a good CD.
Oh, I thought it was. Anyway, but that's one thing everyone knew about you. You didn't play favorites. You gave every band a chance. Your show on Sunday nights was the place to be.
Yeah.
On Sunday nights.
It was good.
And it had a great run. And I always say this, like, that was the last great local show. Even the guy that took over after you,
Yeah, Robert. Yeah.
It wasn't that good. You'd see Alligator Dave every fucking weekend. And then it just kept going, and it's never. I tell people all the time, like, that time in the Dallas music scene was the time to be in the Dallas music scene.
It was great. So there was before me. Obviously, I know Chris Ryan did it before me, but the scene in Dallas. See, I came in 96, 97 was when I started really getting into the scene. But before that, like, Tripping Daisy, Edie Brickell, New Bohemians, Hagfish. There were some other bands, Baboon. There were some other bands that were getting big. But my time, when I came in late 90s, the scene exploded, which obviously made it so easy for me because, bands like Drowning Pool, Edgewater, Jibe. Obviously the Pantera thing was ongoing, and still at that time it was huge, but it was just so easy because there were so many great bands, and I'm a lover of music. So first and foremost, before a radio DJ, I'm a musician. I'm a music guy. Even before a musician, I just love music, right? I grew up on classic rock, hard rock, heavy metal, glam rock. I was in high school in the late 80s. So mid to late 80s. So that, I was born into this, right? So the music, and then I, wanted to become a rock star. So I learned how to play guitar and started singing because no one else would sing. So I'll sing, why not? And so that was like the first part of it. And then DJing, I was just a natural. I always wanted to be at the party. I loved to party. Yeah. So I wanted to host the party. Yeah. So it was a perfect storm, basically. Yeah. The music, the scene, the party. The radio, I get to, be this guy.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
But I think even like with the music being there, without the support, something, you're right. It is the perfect storm. Like all the bands, and so many, Drowning Pool did help a lot of bands. They got the deal. Edgewater got the deal. Yeah. Vanish got the deal. All these bands were getting record deals. And, but they also had the radio support because they had somebody there kind of fighting for them.
So really what happened is that show got so popular. Like I said, it was the Sunday nights were outperforming the Friday and Saturdays at the club. So the club loved it, right? They were making huge bar sales because I always brought the party crowd. And then on radio, it kind of, what we did was I don't know if you remember it, but we did the local show, Local Palooza.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when we did that, and we had it at down. It's where the AT&T Performing Arts Center is now. It was called the Annette Strauss.
Dead Industry was there. All these
from the Nixons, Hellified Funk Crew, Drowning Pool. I mean, almost like all the heavy hitters were on this one bill. All day festival, and it was a huge success. I released a CD along with the festival that had all those bands, the local show CD. Yeah. That thing blew up. We sold 3,000 copies locally in DFW. That's more than any other local music compilations ever sold. Yeah. And so my program director, at that time, it was Greg, I don't remember his last name, best program director I ever had. He goes, listen, to help, since your show is big and, obviously Sunday nights is going so good, he goes, why don't we feature some songs off of the local show CD? We'll play it in regular rotation. So local bands were getting not only just on Sunday nights, now it's starting to bleed over into regular rotation. So I picked as the first single Tearaway from Drowning Pool. And we started playing it afternoon drive, morning, all day parts. And the record guys were coming in for Warner Brothers or, whoever, Capitol. They were like, I'm looking at your playlist. Who is this Drowning Pool? What is this local band? Why are you playing local band? Because the record companies are competing for radio time. Yeah. They want to get Korn on. They want to get Nickelback on. They want to get Creed on. And if there's another band taking up those slots in prime time, they're like, what's going on? And at that time I became assistant music director. Cindy Skull was music director. And so we were the ones having the meetings with the record label. And so Cindy calls me in this meeting and she says, hey, the guy from Warner Brothers wants to know how come we're playing a local band. And so I explained it to him. I said, hey man, this is a great local band. I put this compilation together and I gave him a copy. You should listen. There's a lot of great bands. So that compilation, not only did it sell well and it got played on the air, but I started handing it to record people. So Wind Up Records ended up, I think it was Wind Up, that ended up signing Drowning Pool based off the radio airplay and giving them the CD. They were like, so they got a hold of them and worked it out. And then next thing you know, they got a platinum album on Wind Up Records, man.
Did you get a platinum album out of that?
I did. It's we'll go in my music room. It's hanging up there. Yeah, right on, for sure.
So how long were you at the Eagle?
So I arrived in the winter of 96, and I stayed there until 2002. So about 6 years.
And why'd you leave?
So as you probably know, or maybe some people don't know, is radio is very volatile. So radio is a crazy industry to be in. Most DJs don't stay at one spot. It's and at that time in the industry, corporations were buying stations, gobbling up stations, selling stations, gobbling up stations. And it was just all to raise stock prices and make profits and stuff. So it got real corporate. You heard the term corporate rock. Well, the reason that happened is these large corporations were buying the radio stations and they were minimizing quality and emphasizing quantity, making money off advertising. The music, the format, the FM rock format became less of a priority, and how much money, how high can we get our stock prices? It's just greed, capitalism. Mm-hmm. It just took over and kind of ruined the format. So there was a lot of volatility. There was, people were getting fired because they were making too much money, and program directors were being put in positions that didn't know anything about music, but they were corporate guys.
Business people.
Yeah. And so it was taking the fire out of it. And then, or the program directors that were there, that were music guys, were being forced by corporate or executives to more commercials, less music, don't let the DJs talk, just have them talk about products, advertisements. Don't let them talk about, hey, we were don't tell stories. So, it just started to change. And then within that, there was some infighting going on. And there were rumors that more people were going to get fired. My name came up, and that they were going to do away with the local show. And man, it was so popular, going so well. I was like, man, I worked so hard to make that what it is. I'm not just going to let some suit come in there and tell me, well, too bad, you're done.
Yeah.
So a lot of people had defected from the Eagle over to 105.3. Howard Stern, and not that he defected, but they didn't renew Howard Stern, which was one thing. They moved Russ to mornings.
Yeah.
So Howard Stern needed a new place in Dallas. So he popped on 105.3. And they were a talk that I don't know if you remember, it's called The Talk That Rocks.
Yeah.
Kind of what Eddie Trunk, that's kind of his thing now. He goes, the Talk That Rocks. So anyway, that's what 105.3, it went from country to The Talk That Rocks. And they started bringing him some, they wanted to kind of combine the Eagle with the Ticket and kind of give like a guy talk with kind of more of a rock flair. So the promotions director, Cindy Cole, had left Eagle, went over there, and she said, listen, Chaz, what you do is great. You can come over here to 105.3. We'll give you 2 hours on the air Sunday night to do your local show. We'll do another local show CD. And then they threw ridiculous money at me. Like I was making great money at the Eagle, but they said, we'll beat that. Mm-hmm. So how could I not, right?
Yeah.
And there was all this, talk, it was just a bad scene. So I ended up just one night just saying, well, next week you'll hear the show on another station because, here we go. Which, in radio, you never want to say another. I mean, it used to be, it's not that way anymore, but it used to be, you would never call out another radio station's
call letters
or dial,
yeah,
over the air. I did that. I said, hey, this is 97.1 The Eagle. Next weekend we'll be on 105.3 FM. Oh shit. They tried to shut me down. They were pissed. They fired me immediately, blah, blah, blah. I already had another gig. I didn't care. But I kind of went out guns blazing, kind of burnt some bridges. And then I had to go back and repair a lot of that I did. But went over to 105.3, did the live and local show, had to change. There was some legal stuff. Lawyers got involved, changed the name a little bit, released another CD, expanded the show. It still continued to roll. And it was good times. So that's why I left the Eagle. And, in hindsight, I probably should have stayed at the Eagle because I probably could still be working there today. Maybe. I don't know. But the funny thing about that is it wasn't long after that. It was only 2 or 3 months after that they flipped formats to Sunny 97.1, went Tejano. Mm-hmm. And then they went back to the rock. So I probably would have got fired then anyway. Who knows? Radio's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Radio's crazy.
Or who knows? I think you could have held yourself with Tejano.
Yeah. I was thinking, I could have made it up.
And while you were at the Eagle, I don't know if it was while you were at the Eagle or when you were at 105, you started a band called Red Leather.
So, man, thank God I formed Red Leather. That was a great transition to go out of radio and kind of into the last 20 years here. Mm-hmm. So, went to 105.3. Of course, things expanded. Not only was I doing the local show on Sunday, then I started doing a Wednesday night open jam at the Liquid Lounge. And then I was doing like a Tuesday night, on Lower Greenville, kind of an internet radio thing called Girls Gone Radio, which is sort of it was internet radio, but it was like the beginnings of podcasting, really. Yeah. So I kind of started getting into that. I had started a thing with a partner, a guy who had some money called Texas Radio One, which was Texas music, internet radio. So I was branching out and then doing that open jam on Wednesdays. I actually got to get up and jam with a lot of the bands. And I kind of found a group. It was the guitar player from Tech 3, Neil Swanson, who is amazing guitar player.
Yeah, I talked to Neil on this show.
Yeah.
Amazing guitar player.
Oh, man. And now he plays with Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics.
Orianthi.
Yeah. I mean, and he's hung out with Steve Vai. I mean, the kid, I say kid, he's an adult now, but he was always a kid to me. He was just super insanely talented. And he wanted to do all the 80s rock. And I'm like, hey, that's my wheelhouse. I'll sing it, right? Yeah. And then we found a drummer, and then we've got the bass. We just kind of pieced something together. And, what are we going to call it? And I was like, let's call it Hairspray, because it's like 80s rock. We're doing Skid Row. We're doing Poison. We're doing Motley Crue. We're doing Guns N' Roses. Let's just call it Hairspray. And then James at the Curtain Club said, Hairspray, that's kind of cheesy, man. You need to do something, it needs to be 80s, but it needs to be something cool. Like, it needs to be something like Red Leather or something. I went, there it is. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it Red Leather. And so Red Leather was born, and we just were playing the open jam, and people started going, damn, you guys, that's cool. No one's doing, it was before Metal Shop. It was before all these 80s rock, bands that you see now all the time, all these tribute bands. We were really the first ones. And so, people started saying, hey, do you guys do shows outside of this? And I said, no, but we will. And so we actually started getting bookings. Clubs were asking for us. Kent down at the Galaxy said, hey, I got, Rat coming in. We open for Rat, and those things, we opened for Warrant. We opened for Kip Winger. We did Bret Michaels. So any 80s artist that would come, Red Leather would be on the bill. So that kind of blew up. And yeah, we just played a show last weekend, and Red Leather's been together for 20 years. Now, different members. Yeah. Obviously, Neil went off and did his thing, and we've had, drummer like Spinal Tap. We've had like 15 drummers.
What's the current lineup right now?
So right now, and we just COVID. COVID was a strange time. Obviously, we didn't play for a long time because of COVID, and so things happen. And so I've got a new lineup that we're playing with now. But these are all players, man. I've got one of the guys that was filling in for drums. His name's Ryan Brown. He's a great drummer, played with Emerald City, he fills in for like every big time cover band. He's actually our full-time drummer now. We've got a guy named Daryl Gibbs on bass, he's been in the scene forever. He can play guitar, he can sing, he can play bass, he probably can play drum. I mean, the guy is super talented, but a great bass player, great bass player. But probably the best bass player I've ever played with. And I played with some good ones. And then on guitar is a guy named Richard Tull,
Richie Tull, yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of the tribute bands, Rat tribute band and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a shredder. I'd never really, Neil was a shredder and tasteful. Sorry. That long tail on the COVID, man, it sticks with you. But I've never really played with just a full out shredder, like Yngwie style shredder. Yeah. And that's what Richard Tull is. He could play the songs and play slow, but man, he loves to play fast.
Yeah. I've been hearing about Richie Tull since the late 80s. One of my best friends is Derek Taylor. And so when Derek started coming up, everyone heard about him. Yeah. So all the shredders wanted to, and Richie was one of them, and I think they're pretty good friends. And and
he's still shredding, man. So
he's a great guitar player.
Him, Daryl, Ryan, and me. I've been the only one since 20 years ago. It's always been my gig. It's kind of my band, my gig.
Yeah.
And so, other musicians have come and gone, but man, I've just kept the name and we've been playing, man. God,
You still enjoy it?
No, I do. It's a great, I'm so thankful that I had Red Leather because once radio and then 105.3's didn't flip formats, they went from the talk that rocks more into, I think they're sports now. But yeah, they're sports, 105.3 The Fan. So that, and I could have done radio somewhere else. I've had offers in Idaho or, I could have went to somewhere, I could have stayed in radio, but I had already started a family. I had my first kid, and I really didn't want to move away from family. I didn't really want to take my family, hey, let's go to Idaho for a year. Oh, then let's go to St. Louis for 2 years. Oh, yeah, let's go move to North Dakota. Then let's go move. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to kind of do my own thing here. So as radio died out, thankfully I had Red Leather, and people still knew me from the radio. So, we want to go see Chaz from the Eagle. We want to go see his band Red Leather. Let's go see, because he's crazy, right? So, and at that time I was crazy, and there's no doubt about it. I was drinking. My drinking and drug use was at an all-time high during the beginning of Red Leather. And for the first probably 5 to 10 years of Red Leather, I was a maniac. Maybe 15 years. I don't know. I don't drink as much now. And I don't do as many drugs now. So So I've tried to limit that. And when you get older, you just can't do that stuff. But yeah, some of those shows were notorious. I mean, jumping on tables at Firewater, that's one of the stories that people go, oh my God. I mean, flimsy tables, and I'm just hopping on them, hopping from table to table. They're like, we've never seen anybody act that crazy. And it was the alcohol for sure. But luckily, Red Leather gave me that opportunity to still be in the spotlight, so to speak, still have a presence in the scene.
The public eye.
The public eye. People knew who I was, associated me with the radio. And I had fun doing it. I mean, I love music. I love those songs. Over the years, the playlist, the set list has changed. It went from 80s rock. We started playing some newer stuff. We started playing some older stuff, 70s rock. And it got to the point where we were just playing nothing but hits. Like, we wanted to be like, these big cover bands in this town make a lot of fucking money, man.
Yeah.
Your Emerald Cities, your Back in Blacks, your, these tribute bands, some of these bands are making thousands and thousands of dollars a night. And so, we sold out. We just wanted to play all the hits, things that people will dance to. Almost became a dance band at one time.
Yeah.
But now we're kind of back to being a rock band, more hard rock. I kind of getting a little bit away. Now we still play the hits. The girls, we got to let the girls dance a few songs, right? But we're playing some more Jane's Addiction, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, more of the 90s stuff, Smashing Pumpkins. But still, we got the 80s rock in there, GNR and Def Leppard and Bon Jovi, still doing that. And then we do old stuff like Montrose, Foghat. We're bringing that old classic rock, Van Halen, which is great too. So it's a little bit of everything, but it's more rock driven and kind of less of the dancier stuff than what it was. But it's good, man. I mean, and I still do. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy the music. I will say though, and all musicians will tell you this: when you get older, it gets harder, man. It gets harder to sing. My voice has changed. I quit singing during COVID, and I still haven't found my voice since. I didn't get sick all through the majority of COVID. I didn't even have COVID until about a month ago. I actually got it, and real mild, Omicron, or how do you say it? But it was real mild, and I'm vaccinated, I'm boosted. It just, that stuff was so contagious, and it snuck up on me, and, I was kind of not being careful and going out, and, but I still, and I can sing fine now, but I still really haven't found the voice that I had when I was younger or before COVID, where I didn't have to warm up. I could just hit any note and go crazy. And now I'm like, I got to start taking care of this thing.
Yeah.
It's an instrument, man, and you can't abuse it for.
And back then, did you ever have any vocal training, or
Never.
did you just start singing?
Never.
And back then, it was just balls of the wall, right?
You just scream as much as you can and try to emulate whoever. Like, so we're doing an AC/DC song. You try to emulate Bon Scott or Brian Johnson. If you're doing a Van Halen song, you just try to sound the most like David Lee Roth. That's all I ever did. And people would go, how do you change your voice to sound like that singer? Because you do it. You're like spot on every singer. And I attribute that to being in radio and doing bits, and trying to do funny voices and impersonations. I mean, it's kind of that comedy radio stuff. I just applied that into being in a cover band singer and copying those voices and being able to scream all night and not, I just always had a strong voice. And, but again, COVID, taking 2 years off pretty much for performing.
Yeah.
And now trying to get back into it. It's tough. It's hard. So, I still have some issues with my throat, and it's not the same. So I do enjoy it. It's just harder to do now, for
Right
sure.
on.
For sure. That's why I'm doing country songs, man.
Right on.
I'm changing formats here, man. I'm trying to do the easier stuff.
Real quick, all those years in radio, man, I bet you did a lot of really cool stuff. Who was the highlight of? Did you get to meet a lot of your heroes, or did who stands out the most?
So I grew up in Colorado. And we lived on the edge of Colorado Springs, kind of northeast. It was called the Black Forest. Mm-hmm. And, we had this little house, me and my dad, real just weird existence. Grew up on heavy metal. Used to listen to a band called Pantera in high school. And not knowing who they were, I just know, damn, these guys they're even harder than Metallica. So I was into them, right? coming to Dallas, eventually, going to Lubbock, Colorado to Lubbock, going to school, doing radio, then coming to Dallas, and then getting to literally hang out with Vinny and Dime, either whether they come to the studio or they invite me to their house or, go into a show. I mean, it's kind of wild to know that you were sitting in your bedroom on the edge of your bed, looking at Cowboys from Hell going, these guys are cool, to saying, yeah, those guys are my friends. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's weird, right? Because I know that me and my friends grew up listening to the power metal and the Projects in the Jungle, and then you fast forward and you're sitting at Dime's house. Yeah, and coming from where we came from, they were always a local band, but we knew who they were.
Right,
we knew.
See, they weren't local to me. They were a big band.
No. So when they blew up,
And it blew up.
Yeah.
Like the biggest metal band. Bigger than Metallica.
There's never going to... I think Metallica is the band. No, I think they are. But I think there's never going to be a metal band, and this is just my opinion, and people have argued with me, that blew up like Pantera. That's the last. Slipknot maybe, but Pantera is the last grassroots
Slipknot
band.
Maybe.
And I always say that
I'm sure they say that in Iowa where Slipknot's from. They're like, man, remember when Slipknot was playing the bars here?
I always say that Vulgar is the metal album that all metal albums should be measured by.
Oh, yeah. It's to me. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. Now, Ride the Lightning's great. And there are other albums, metal albums. Symphony of Destruction, or Countdown to Extinction, I'm sorry. There are some great metal albums.
Do you want to let Ben go in?
Yeah, do you mind?
No, not at all.
Yeah, just let me let him in real quick, because he's having a conniption that he can't be next to me. Yes, now go lay down. But yeah, you're right. Pantera, Vulgar. So that was big for me because of the friendship, right? But yeah, radio allowed me to call Marilyn Manson on his home phone and do an interview. And Rose McGowan answered the phone as when they were together. That was kind of cool. Hanging out with Ozzy Osbourne, meeting the Prince of Darkness, who could barely talk. But I'm hanging out with Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi. I'm hanging out with Ozzy. This is huge rock star. And then meeting Steve and Tyler, Joe Perry, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Motley Crue. These are all bands that I grew up with. So yeah, getting to meet them. It was cool. And then you get tickets to all the shows, and if you know the business, and then if you know the tour manager or the record rep, they can get you backstage, or then you get to meet other bands, other people, and then doing festivals, interviewing people on the radio. Oh my God, I've interviewed so many rock stars that I've forgotten more than I remember. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, radio gave me a great opportunity to. Because when you're a little kid and you love rock and roll, you love music so much, you want to be a rock star, but you never dream that, well, I'm going to work in the industry and I'm going to get to actually hang out with people that when I was younger would be they seem such wow, Yeah. And now you're working side by side with them and you're in the same industry. It's surreal for sure.
Do you know who Oddly Freed is?
Oddly Freed. He was in a band called Cry of Love.
Cry of Love.
What a great band.
I think he's with Sheryl Crow. He told me, I was talking to him one time, and I asked him, I was like, dude, what was it like playing with Jimmy Page? Because he was in the Black Crowes when Jimmy Page did that.
Yes.
And he used the perfect term. He's like, it was like the posters on the wall coming to life.
Yes.
And that's what it's like. When
really
people
is.
ask, when you meet your hero and you get to hang out. What's crazy is when somebody becomes your friend. You don't work for them, or, in my industry, you're not working for them. You just, you cross paths with somebody that you admire, and they're like, hey, take my number, man. Let's hang out, or let's do this.
That's right.
And it's like the posters coming to life,
yeah.
Because we all, guys like us, we had these posters on our wall.
Yeah.
We did the air guitar.
Well, I think that's what happened to us. I think that we loved music so much and we wanted to become musicians and wanted to become famous. I know I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a rock star. Kiss was my first band, but then when Van Halen and Motley Crue came on, when I saw Motley Crue, I was like, damn it, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to be a rock star. So yeah, man. I think the passion that we had for music it just transcended, and it's like we had no other choice. I mean, we just decided we want to be involved in that, so we're going to do whatever we can. And for me, it was radio. I mean, I had an opportunity to go into radio, so hell yeah, I'm jumping on that bandwagon because that's going to get me one step closer to where I want to be, whether it be a rock star or wherever. I mean, who knows what I was going to do, but it was that train came on. I jumped on that train, and it took me for a good ride.
Right on, man. So what did you do after radio, after Red Leather's still going, but what are you doing now?
So, when you get older, you start having kids, which I put off for a long time. I didn't have my first child until I was 35 years old. So somehow I did not slip one past the goalie, which is great, right? Well, maybe I did, but I didn't actually have the kids. So, either way, 35, had my first kid. And my wife at the time was like, listen, radio's kind of fading out and you're doing this band thing and you're out all night. I'm doing, whether it be podcasting or internet radio, or I'm always out. My thing was I was in the scene always, and I'd made a name for myself from being in the scene, being in Deep Ellum or being wherever the music is. So, I mean, I kind of got programmed that I had to be in the scene to be relevant. But my wife wasn't having that. She was done with the partying. She was done with me being out till 2 a.m. every night while she's at home with a kid. So she ended up divorcing me. She left, she was doing my laundry and she was finding these little bags, little Ziploc bags in my pockets. And, I was wild and she just had enough, So when she left me, things changed for me. I mean, perspective, because I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with her. She's beautiful. We had a baby. We had a house. My life was set, I thought. She walks out the door. Now I'm a single father, visitation, which if, just being that, just having joint custody of a child is it's tough. So I had to change some things. And one of the owners at the Curtain Club had left the Curtain Club, and he was working at this place out in McKinney. And he says, and I had made enough money at that point where I was actually getting involved in real estate a little bit. I had bought and sold a couple houses and had a couple rental properties. So I had some passive income that I was getting by. Even though I wasn't working in radio, I still had some revenue streams. But I needed to kind of get serious, get out of the scene and kind of get a normal gig. Part of it was try to save my marriage, which didn't work. And but also I had to start providing, as a single father. And so this guy, Ed, he used to work at the Curtain Club, one of the owners of the Curtain Club at the time. He said, man, you should come out to this place I'm working at in McKinney. It's called Repair My Credit. I go, what the Repair My Credit? What's that all about? And he goes, man, we're working with this guy from Experian and we help people fix their credit so they could buy houses. I thought, man, that sounds boring as hell. Why would I ever go do that? And he goes, number one, you already know about real estate. You already know about the home loans and stuff. Number two, you're great. You got a great voice. You'd be great. You'd be a great salesman on the phone. And you just do good at this and you could make a lot of money. I went, wait, a lot of money? Like how much money are we talking? You can make 6 figures. I was like, what? I go, man, is it like corporate? Do I have to show up at 9 a.m. and work till 5 every day? Is it like that? Cause I'm still transitioning out of this nightlife gig. And he's like, yeah, but just come out and have lunch with us. Just come out and have lunch and see what you think. So I went out and had lunch with him, the guy from Experian. And 18 years later, here I am. I'm doing credit repair, credit restoration. But now I own the company, right? So It's a little different now. I worked for that company, which was the largest in North Texas. I worked my way up until the guy from Experian left and formed his own company. And then I became the general manager of that firm. And then that grew to be the largest company in North Texas. And then when that kind of split up, then I decided, you know what? I told the guy from Experian that I think I can do this on my own. If you'll just kind of point me in the right direction, and which he did, which he was cool enough to do. And so I'd worked with him for 10 years. He was the legal and compliance executive at Experian. He was their expert witness and testified on Experian's behalf when it came to consumer reporting or consumer disputing. I basically was his understudy. He taught me everything about the federal laws that protect rights of consumers, the laws we use to remove negative information from credit reports. And I kind of got into it, man. It kind of, at first it was like, I'm making money. I want to make a lot of money, and I made great money. But then I got to the point where like, this is cool because we actually get to shut down these collection agencies. We actually get to help people increase their credit scores, and they're buying houses. And then I'm getting letters and pictures of people in front of their new houses saying, we could have never done it without you. Thank you so much. We realized the American dream all because of you. So I started to get fulfillment out of it, right?
Yeah.
So I worked my way up, and then I decided I'm just going to do it on my own. I started my own company, and for 8 years now, I've owned my own company, and I work with realtors and mortgage lenders all over the United States. They send me their clients, people that want to buy houses, but maybe they don't have the credit score where it needs to be. They come to me. I restore their credit. So what I'll do is go through their credit report, negative accounts. We'll challenge with the credit reporting agencies, and we'll challenge with the companies to make sure they're in compliance with the law. If they're not in compliance, they got to remove those accounts from the credit reports. I help people get lines of credit if they need credit cards or installment loans or whatever. I can get them pre-approved, or instantly approved on lines of credit. So we build credit profiles. We minimize the damage on credit reports, all to get their credit scores, as close to the 700s, if not in the 700s, so they can get the best home loan possible and help them realize the American dream. So
right on.
That's
so
what
this
I
fulfillment you're talking about, is it kind of the same fulfillment you got out of playing in a band and being this kind of, because I'll say this, I'm not kissing your ass or anything. It's going on almost over 25 years that you've been around.
Yeah.
You're not irrelevant. You still go out and you mention your name. People know who you're talking about.
My wife gets so mad.
We'll
be at a restaurant. Hey, it's Chaz.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, like someone's going to recognize me at some point. Hey, didn't you used to? It's always that. Yeah. And she's like, can we just go somewhere where nobody comes up to us and says, hey, Chaz, remember this, Chaz? Hey, I remember you, Chaz. I mean, she's like, she gets so pissed. We can't, when we would go to like a nice restaurant and people are like, hey, Chaz, from across the, right. It's like, damn it. Yeah. It's like everywhere we go. But yeah, I mean, I've had a pretty awesome life. Since moving to Dallas. Obviously, radio was a big part of that. And then playing in a relevant cover band for a number of years. And then, social media came out, and then you kind of brand yourself and, having success with this. But no, to be honest with you, it's not the same. Is it fulfilling on a more personal level? Yes.
Does it help you sleep at night?
I mean, I sleep great at night. I do, because I feel like I'm somewhat successful. I'm taking care of my family. I'm able to enjoy life.
You have a beautiful house.
I'm very fortunate. I've met a great woman. We have a great family. I've got 4 kids altogether. So my oldest just turned 18 Monday.
Wow.
And we've got 2 kids that live with us here that are 9 and 10 years old. So I'm still raising kids, but we're able to go on vacations. We're able to live comfortably, Yeah. So yeah, I sleep great at night. And like I said, I've been doing music for so long. It's hard to keep doing it, but I'm still going to keep doing it because I love it. Music is my passion. I love music, man. I'm not as motivated to do it as I used to be.
Yeah.
Because, running a business takes time and effort, and, I make a lot of money doing that. So that's my focus. I'm not as concerned about making money with music. I don't want to be the rock star. And to be honest with you, man, I don't need that ego boost anymore. I think you get older, whether it was insecurities as a younger man, I felt like I needed to be in the scene. Like I was saying, I felt like I needed that adoration, or I needed that attention from people to make myself feel better. Yeah. But I think my mental health has improved over the years. I'm less insecure. I care about what I look like, but I don't think I need to fill that void inside. I think we all have a void inside of us.
Yeah.
And we all use whatever to try to fill it. I just don't have that like I used to. So I don't need to play music. I don't need to be in front of a crowd. I don't need to be on the radio. I don't need those things like I felt like I needed in the past. So what I do now, I love it. I get to work from home if I want to. We've got an office in Colorado. We got an office here. I got a family and just having kids and having a family and being able to travel. And that's what really makes me happy.
That's filling that void.
That's the feeling you avoid?
No, that's filling that void.
No, that's filling the void. Yeah. I thought you said that's the feeling I avoid.
No.
What's wrong? Let's turn the mics around. Let's talk.
No,
that does. Yeah.
Right on, man.
The thing I care about most is my kids. My daughter, I have a 13-year-old daughter. Her name's Lyric, which is, kind of a cool name. Kind of played itself out there. She asked me the other day, she's like, what do you hope happens when you die? And I said, well, I hope that when I die, that my kids are happy. They are in good, committed relationships, and that they are successful, educated, and, that they're not sad about me. They're happy that I did everything to put them in a position to, be successful in life, be happy, I'm trying to set a good example now. When those early days in radio and Red Leather, there was not much role model material coming. I was a wild ass.
No.
I was wild. But once you start having kids, you start having a family, and your priorities change, and your mental health changes. What's important to you, what you value, and those things change as you age. And I think that's what's happened to me is now there's other things that I get fulfillment from, or other things that I just don't need. So do I enjoy performing? Yes, for the music. Do I enjoy the attention? Not as much.
Right on, man.
But I still get it, and it's great. I'm thankful for it because
Well, I meant what I said. Like, you still mention your name, or people see you. You're not irrelevant.
Sometimes
I'll say this, and I wasn't even planning on saying this. One thing I remember, and you probably don't even remember this. You and your
I don't remember anything.
No. You and your wife at the time.
Which one? Which number was it? No, I'm just kidding.
Invited me and my kid to see the Dallas Mavericks with you guys. And we went and sat down. We had fun. You were very engaged with my son, who's 25 now, by the way.
Good Lord.
And every time after that, if he heard you on the radio, anybody would listen, he'd tell him, that's my friend. That guy's my friend. He was a kid then. He was like,
and we went to a Mavs game.
Yeah, we went to a Mavs game.
I got free tickets to the Mavs. Again, the perks in radio were so great. Right?
Oh yeah, I benefited off you a lot.
It's so great. It does suck to have to pay for shows now, and I still know some people where I still go to some shows for free. We were talking earlier about getting backstage and stuff. I still have some of those perks, but sometimes I have to pay for tickets, man, and it's like
it hurts.
Yeah, it's like. Especially now, because tickets are like $250, if you want to see a...
And that's the cheap seats.
Oh, geez. I know, right? So, but that is a cool story, man. And you know what? I apologize, because I probably don't... When you said it now, I kind of feel like, okay. But if you would have never mentioned it, hell no, I wouldn't have remembered it. I mean, that's the other thing is... you realize as you get older is damn all that drinking and there was probably some harder drug use. I never considered smoking pot drug or I considered that medicine or which obviously it's being legalized and hopefully it'll be legalized, but I think that's safer than even drinking alcohol. But the amount of alcohol and again other substances that I abused in those radio days and early days of Red Leather, you can't do that anymore, and you kind of get sick of being sick. You know what I'm saying? Being hungover all the time, or getting wasted. The downfall of that is memory. I don't remember a lot of those good times. Those were great times. When I do remember them, man, I really sit and enjoy them. I posted something on Facebook yesterday about one song took me back to just being in the Eagle studios and all alone because I'd work those weekend shifts or those late night shifts, and I'd be the only one in the entire studio. So I would crank the studio speakers to just as loud as I can get them and just air guitar, that love of music, and, so I loved when those memories are triggered. I love going back, but I'll be honest with you, I don't remember a lot. I was blacked out drunk for a lot of it.
Hey, man.
I partied really hard because I felt like this. I go, I'm not going to be a poser. I'm going to be a rock star. How do rock stars? Rock stars party, man. Rock stars are full throttle. They don't half-ass it. They do drugs. They drink. They womanize. And I idolized those. Those were my role models growing up. So I thought I had to be like that.
Yeah.
And I pretty much lived my life like that for a long time. But you get older, a little more mature, little mental health. You realize, man, whew, what a wild ass. I need to calm down. I don't need to be that guy anymore. Right? I don't need to be that guy. I don't need to act like a fool. I don't need to be on the clown and hey, look at me, everybody.
Well, like we said, everything you have now is filling that void.
Yeah. And I think deep down inside, that's all I've ever wanted. And that's probably why I acted out in the manner that I did, because I think deep down inside, we all just want to be loved and have someone to love. Yeah. Right. And I always chased it. And now that I've kind of found it, I've found my wife now is amazing. She not only puts up with me, but she likes who I am as a person. She doesn't mind, me being in a band and playing gigs. She's cool with it. Yeah. Book it. Let's do it. And she comes to the gigs. You have a chance to do a radio show. Go do a radio show. Oh, you're going to go host this. And I'm doing a thing. I'm actually going to host a thing at a college for helping college students how to prepare for broadcasting or video, radio and TV work. So I'm kind of, God, I'm getting old, man. I'm going into education, Right on. But it's cool. I want to pass that on, right? So that's cool for me to do. Again, I don't have to be that guy, but I could still give that back if I could give back, Yeah. It's a good thing. It's cool.
Right on, man. Well, I do, man. I appreciate you doing this.
This has been fun. Yeah. I feel like we could go for 3 hours.
Oh, we could do this again too. So
I mean, there's so much we didn't even talk about, but
the podcast, it's called "Is Breakfast Included?"
Is breakfast included?
And if it was, what would you have?
The first thing that popped into my mind right there is Fruity Pebbles. Man, I love breakfast cereals. Yeah. I don't eat them anymore because of the sugar. And that's another thing. My diet has changed. I blew up to almost 250 pounds. I'm down to about 230 now. So I've lost 20 pounds. But man, I used to love Fruity Pebbles, man. It's so good. My kids eat it, and
Forget about tempted. One bowl. You got to eat the whole box.
No, yeah. Peanut Butter Crunch, right, was always a big player. But man, I was always a big. Now for breakfast, I'll be honest with you, I'm eating, eggs. I love eggs. That's a good source of protein, right? Yeah. So I'll eat eggs, and I like the traditional egg, sausage, bacon. I love that more traditional breakfast now.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Hey, man.
Thanks a lot, dude. It's great catching up with you.
Yeah, man. We got to do this again.
Yeah.
This is fun.
I'll be on the other side next time.
Yeah. No, you did a great job too, man.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right on. Chaz Knight. Man, I've known that guy forever. Like I said, he gave a lot of bands a chance for their music to be heard on a huge platform at the time. And like I told him, man, he's not irrelevant in this music scene even today. You mentioned that name and people have a story about him or something like that. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. All right, guys, I'm done. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.